You've arrived at CozySideAudio, where dreams begin with a story. Whether you're studying, journaling, or just chilling, this one's for you. If you vibe with this kind of content, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe for more.
CozySideAudio presents The Cinderella Team. Chapter 1. The Gaucho Grind. Robert Doe had learned the rhythm of a college ball player's life, though it was rarely romantic. Sunrise didn't break through Santa Barbara's coastal fog so much as seep, gray and quiet, into the team's cramped apartment windows. The alarm clock on his phone buzzed at 5:45, vibrating across a wooden nightstand scattered with bus schedules, half-empty water bottles, and a glove that hadn't seen oil since last summer. He swung his legs off the mattress and rubbed his eyes. This was the third year he'd gone through this routine. Third year of clanging weight plates, chalk dust, damp turf, and the ever-present salt of the Pacific in the air. He'd chosen UC Santa Barbara because it felt like home, small enough that he wouldn't get swallowed, but still good enough to chase the dream that had burned inside him since Little League. One day, stepping onto the game's biggest stage. The weight room smelled like sweat and iron, even this early. A couple pitchers were already there, headphones jammed in, going through bands and shoulder rotations. Robert nodded toward them, not expecting a reply. He wasn't the team's star, not the freshman phenom shortstop who made scouts scribble into their notebooks, not the power hitter who could deposit fastballs into the palm trees beyond right field. He was steady, dependable, the kind of hitter you slid into the middle of the lineup because you knew he wouldn't collapse. Sixth, maybe seventh? Someone who'd put the bat on the ball, move a runner over, fight off pitches until the opposing starter groaned. "Morning, Doe," said Trevor Delgado, the team's catcher and unofficial clubhouse philosopher. "You look like you wrestled a raccoon in your sleep." Robert smirked. "I won." Trevor laughed, grabbing a barbell. "Good. Coach needs you today. Heard we're facing a Friday guy throwing 95 with a hammer curve." Robert slid under the bench press and exhaled. "Figures. Open the season, and they throw us to the wolves." Trevor's grin widened. "Wouldn't have it any other way." By noon, Caesar Uesaka Stadium hummed with the kind of nervous electricity only opening day could provide. The bleachers weren't packed, they rarely were, but parents, students, and locals in Navy Gaucho hats trickled in, clutching hot dogs and paper cups of soda. The ocean breeze carried salt through the air, and seagulls circled high, opportunistic freeloaders waiting for foul balls to kick up popcorn. Robert jogged out of the dugout with his teammates, spikes clattering against concrete before giving way to the spongy crunch of the infield dirt. He always took a second to inhale when he hit the field. The grass was cut in symmetrical stripes, green like a promise. The chalk lines gleamed sharp and straight. Every opening day felt like a fresh book waiting to be written. Their opponent, Arizona State, ranked 15th in the nation, all swagger and polish. Their ace, a right-hander built like a linebacker, had been on draft boards since high school. Scouts with radar guns already claimed the top row behind home plate. In the dugout, Coach Nunez clapped his hands. "All right, boys, this is it. Nobody thinks you belong here. That's fine. We don't need 'em to believe. Play clean, play smart, grind every pitch. Doe, you're in the 6-hole today. See the ball, put it in play." "Yes, Coach," Robert said, gripping his bat. The maple felt alive in his hands, smooth from hours of cage work. The game began with nerves. Their leadoff man struck out looking at a fastball painted low and away. The next hitter fanned at a slider in the dirt. By the time Robert's turn rolled around in the second inning, UCSB was down a run, and the Arizona State pitcher looked every bit the phenom. Robert dug in, tapping the plate twice. The crowd noise swirled pockets of Gaucho fans cheering, Sun Devil supporters shouting louder. His heart beat steady. He knew who he was. Not a slugger, not a star, but someone who could fight. First pitch. Fastball, 94, outer edge. He fouled it back, stinging his hands. Second pitch, curveball, tumbling, tempting. He spat on it, watching it dive below the zone. "Good eye, Doe," Trevor barked from the dugout. Robert stepped out, adjusted his batting gloves, breathed. The third pitch came in another heater, inside corner. He turned on it, barreling the ball toward right center. The sound cracked through the park. That sweet echo of wood meeting leather. The ball carried, tailing away from the center fielder. For a moment, Robert thought it might split the gap, but the fielder sprinted, glove outstretched, and snagged it just shy of the track. "Nice rip," Coach Nunez shouted as Robert trotted back. Robert muttered under his breath. Close. But he felt good. He'd seen the pitches, tracked the spin. He could hang. The game stretched into a grind. UCSB's pitcher battled, keeping them within a run, despite Arizona State's lineup peppering line drives. The Gauchos scratched across a run in the fifth on a bloop single and a sac fly. By the seventh, the score sat 2-2, tension settling into the crowd. Every pitch mattered. Robert came up again, runner on second. 2 outs. His helmet felt heavy with sweat. The pitcher snarled from the mound, gripping the ball like he wanted to crush it. First pitch. Slider, outer half. Robert fouled it to the right side just late. Second pitch. Fastball inside. He jerked back, nearly grazed. The catcher set up outside again. Robert could feel it, see it in the crouch, in the way the pitcher's eyes narrowed. Another slider coming. He waited. The ball spun. Dark red seams flashing. He lunged, inside-out swing, and sent it skittering between first and second. The crowd rose as the runner rounded third. The right fielder charged, scooped, fired, but the throw tailed. Safe. "Attaboy, Doe!" the dugout roared. He stood on first, chest heaving, the noise washing over him. Not a bomb, not a highlight reel double, just a clean, clutch single that gave his team the lead. And in that moment, Robert thought, this is why I'm here. The Gauchos held on, 3-2, their bullpen shutting the door with a freshman closer nobody expected to thrive. As the final out nestled into Trevor's mitt, Robert jogged in from left field, grin wide, cleats tearing through dirt. Fans clapped, players hollered, the team mobbed the mound. For a small program, one win against a ranked giant meant everything. In the dugout after the handshake line, Trevor slung an arm around Robert. "You see that? You came up big. You belong out here, Doe." Robert shook his head, laughing. "It's just one hit." "Yeah," Trevor said. "One hit that mattered." Robert leaned back on the bench, sweat cooling, the sky above glowing orange as the sun sank toward the Pacific. The season stretched ahead, long and uncertain, but for now, he let himself soak in the victory. Opening day, and already, the dream felt a little closer. Chapter 2. The Unseen Work. The morning after opening day never had the same shine. The glow of victory faded quickly in the reality of the grind. Cleats still caked with dried dirt, muscles stiff from 9 innings, eyelids heavy from adrenaline crash. Robert sat at the kitchen table of the team's apartment, a cereal bowl in front of him, spoon dragging through soggy flakes. His 2 roommates, both pitchers, were sprawled on the couch, one icing his elbow, the other half asleep under a blanket that smelled faintly of sunflower seeds. On the counter, a lineup card from the night before lay folded next to a stack of takeout boxes. Robert's name sat there in the 6-hole, a reminder he'd done his job. A single, an RBI, a piece of the win. Small on paper, but it mattered. Still, he knew the truth. Baseball never let you live in yesterday. Today's starter didn't care what you hit last night. Every at-bat started 0-0. Every game began at 0-0. Coach Nunez liked to say, "Consistency is currency. You cash it in June. Nothing else spends." so Robert laced his sneakers and jogged across campus toward the batting cages. The UCSB cages sat just beyond the outfield fence, tucked beneath eucalyptus trees that scattered leaves across the roof. The air smelled sharp, resinous. A couple of freshmen were already there, tossing each other soft toss flips into nets. The rhythmic thunk, thunk, thunk of balls hitting canvas echoed like a metronome. Robert slipped on his batting gloves, grabbed his bat, and climbed into the cage. He set the machine at 75, nothing overpowering, just enough to force timing. The first pitch whirred and popped from the feeder, spinning white blur. Crack contact, solid, line drive into the back net. He didn't celebrate. Reset, focus, breathe. He worked through rounds. Inside fastballs, outside pitches, low breaking balls. Each swing had a purpose. In his head, he imagined situations. Runner on third, 1 out, need to lift a fly ball. Runner on first, 2 outs, need a gapper. He visualized the pitcher's eyes, the catcher's glove target. Baseball wasn't just mechanics, it was rehearsal for every possible moment. Trevor wandered in, coffee cup in hand, mask hanging from his bag. "Figured I'd find you here." Robert smirked. "Couldn't sleep. Kept seeing that slider I poked through last night." Trevor leaned on the cage. "That's called clutch, man. You don't forget it. You learn to crave it." Robert swung, cracked another line drive. "Or it eats you alive?" Trevor grinned. "Depends who you are. Me? I'd kill for the at-bat. You? You just have to start believing you deserve it." Later, in the locker room before Game 2, the atmosphere shifted. Opening day had been tense, uncertain. Now, with 1 win under their belt, the Gauchos carried themselves with swagger not cocky, but looser. Music bumped from a portable speaker. Guys taped wrists, joked, talked trash. Robert sat at his locker, lacing his cleats, when outfielder Chris Velasquez dropped beside him. Chris was their speed guy, lean as wire, always bouncing his knee. "Doughboy," Chris said, grinning, "you're my good luck charm now. You're staying in that 6-hole forever." Robert chuckled. "As long as it keeps working." Chris jabbed his shoulder. "You kidding? We're rolling. Keep grinding, we'll make regionals, no doubt." The word regionals sent a shiver through Robert. It was the holy grail for mid-majors. Get in, make noise, prove you belonged with the Giants. Coach Nunez entered, clapping. "All right, listen up. Yesterday's gone. Arizona State's not going to roll over twice. They'll come at us mean. Expect adjustments. Don't let the moment get bigger than it is. Remember, it's still 90 feet to first, 60 feet 6 inches to the plate. Play our game." The team roared back, "Yes, coach." The stands filled more for Game 2. Word spread fast when a mid-major knocked off a ranked powerhouse. Students filtered in with face paint, parents waved signs, and a group of alumni showed up in vintage UCSB jerseys, beer bellies stretching the fabric. Robert stepped onto the field, and for a second, it felt like a bigger stage. Not Omaha, not yet, but more than a sleepy Friday crowd. The first inning went quick. Both pitchers sharp, mowing through batters. Robert watched from the dugout, helmet on, tracking every pitch. He studied the Arizona State starter lefty. Deceptive delivery, slider heavy. Robert's brain ticked through sequences. How he set up hitters when he reached for the changeup. By the second inning, UCSB's starter gave up a double and a sac fly. 1-0 Sun Devils. "Settle in," Trevor barked, tossing the ball back. "Don't let 'em smell blood." In the dugout, Robert chewed his gum hard. He hated giving up early runs, felt like spotting a heavyweight boxer a free punch. His first at-bat came in the bottom of the third. Runner on first, no outs. The lefty glared, glove cocked. First pitch, slider, outer edge. Robert took, strike 1. Second pitch, changeup, dipped, ball. He stepped out, exhaled, Sit back, don't chase. The next pitch came inside, a fastball. He turned on it, sharp grounder to third. Double play chance. Run it out, Coach Nunez yelled. Robert sprinted, legs pumping, helmet bouncing. The throw sailed, pulled the first baseman's foot. Safe. He stood at the bag, lungs burning, and heard the dugout erupt. Not glamorous, not highlight-worthy, but he'd beaten it. Kept the inning alive. The next hitter lashed a double down the line. Robert tore around second, third base coach waving frantically. He dove headfirst into the plate, dust cloud exploding. Safe, the ump barked, arms spread wide. The bleachers roared, Gaucho fans on their feet. Robert lay in the dirt, grinning through sweat. Tie game. The middle innings dragged. Both teams traded blows. Doubles into the gap, sacrifice bunts, close calls at second. The tension rose with every pitch. In the sixth, UCSB trailed 3-2. Robert came up again. 2 outs, bases empty. The lefty wound and fired, curveball hanging. Robert recognized it early, unleashed his swing. Cracked the ball, leapt off his bat, arcing toward left. The crowd held its breath. For a second, Robert thought he'd done it, his first homer of the year, but the ball died at the warning track, snagged just shy of the wall. He jogged back, helmet tugged low. Teammate slapped his helmet anyway. Good swing, Doe. But inside, he chewed on the frustration. Almost isn't enough. Ninth inning. Gauchos down 4-3. Last chance. The dugout buzzed with nervous chatter, spikes tapping concrete. Chris Velasquez singled. Trevor walked. First and second, 1 out, Robert on deck. His heartbeat thudded. He'd pictured this situation 1,000 times in the cages. Now it was real. The hitter in front of him chopped a grounder. Force at second, 2 outs. Robert stepped in, game on his shoulders. The lefty stared him down, sweat dripping from his cap. Crowd roaring, chants rising. First pitch, fastball outer edge, strike. Second pitch, slider, sharp. Robert fouled it straight back, barely missing. 0-2, the hole, the one every hitter dreads. He tightened his grip, dug in, shorten up, just fight. The pitcher delivered another slider, low. Robert poked, desperate swing. Contact, weak grounder rolling toward short. The fielder charged, scooped, threw. Out at first, game over. Sun Devils stormed the field, celebrating like they'd won the series. Gauchos filed off quietly. Robert sat in the dugout, helmet on his knees, sweat dripping down his face. He could still feel the sting of the slider, the weight of letting the moment slip. Trevor dropped beside him, clapped his shoulder. Shake it off, Doe. Tomorrow's another one. Robert nodded slowly. Baseball had a cruel way of humbling you one night's hero, the next day's easy out. But he knew the truth. The season wasn't made in a single at-bat. It was made in the grind, the unseen work that nobody wrote down in box scores. And Robert Doe was ready to grind. Chapter 3. Opening Series. Saturday in Santa Barbara felt different when Arizona State came to town. The city was lazy most weekends, students sleeping off parties, tourists wandering State Street in flip-flops, families walking the beach as if the ocean could rinse away the week. But when a ranked Pac-12 program set up camp at Caesar Uyesaka Stadium, something sharper buzzed under the fog. UCSB's small park, usually half full, turned into a living, breathing thing. The aluminum bleachers groaned under the weight of people. Vendors in gaucho shirts hustled through rows, barking about hot dogs and kettle corn. Kids leaned against the chain-link fence begging for autographs, some of them not even sure who they were asking. Robert sat on the dugout bench, spikes clattering against the concrete as he tied his laces tighter than usual. His calves ached from yesterday first, the mad sprint to beat out a throw, then the head-first slide that left scrapes blooming across his elbows. His legs didn't forgive as fast as they had when he was a freshman. Trevor Delgado plopped down next to him, shin guards already strapped. "This place feels like Omaha," he said, nodding toward the crowd. "If Omaha had eucalyptus trees and seagulls dive-bombing for French fries." Robert smirked. "Don't jinx it. We've got 80-something games to go before Omaha's even a thought." Trevor leaned in, voice low. "You ever think about it, though? Walking into Rosenblatt," he corrected himself. "TD Ameritrade, whatever under the lights, whole country watching?" Robert glanced toward the field, where the Arizona State lineup was stretching, every player wearing cleats that looked like they'd been custom polished. "Yeah," he admitted, "that's the dream." Trevor grinned. "Then go make it real, one at bat at a time." The national anthem faded into applause. The umpire called, "Play ball," and the series' second act began. Arizona State jumped ahead quickly. Their leadoff hitter turned on a 1-1 fastball, hooking it just inside the foul pole. The ball clanged against the metal railing beyond left, and Sun Devil fans exploded. Their dugout spilled halfway onto the field, clapping, barking. "Shake it off," Coach Nunez shouted from the rail. "We've got 9 innings to work." UCSB's starter settled, but the crowd's mood shifted. Every at-bat felt like a boulder rolling downhill. When Robert stepped in for his first trip, the Gauchos were already trailing 2-0. The Sun Devil pitcher tall, whip-armed, with a delivery that seemed to sling the ball from behind his ear, fired a first-pitch strike at 95. Robert barely saw it. "Little late, Doe," Trevor hollered from the dugout. Robert adjusted his gloves. Next pitch, breaking ball. He recognized spin, but it darted under his bat. Strike 2. He exhaled, told himself not to chase. The third pitch was another heater, this time outer edge. Robert shortened up, flicked it foul. Stay alive. The pitcher came again with gas, this one at the letters. Robert turned late, sent a soft liner into shallow right. It dropped in front of the charging outfielder. Single. Nothing flashy, but on base. He felt the bench roar behind him, and as he dusted off his pants, he thought, "That's my job." The game turned into a war of attrition. Arizona State scored again in the fourth. UCSB scraped one across in the fifth thanks to a walk, a stolen base, and a bloop. The scoreboard blinked 3-1 through the middle innings, the tension thick as the salty air drifting in from the Pacific. Robert's second at bat came in the sixth. Runner on second, 2 outs. The Sun Devil pitcher had settled, confidence oozing. First pitch, slider, dirt. Robert took. Second, fastball up, fouled back. Third, curveball hanging. Robert barreled it, but straight to center, where the fielder barely moved before squeezing the leather. Robert jogged back, chewing gum harder than before. Good contact, wrong spot. By the eighth, UCSB trailed 4-2. Their bullpen worked to keep the deficit manageable, but Arizona State's arms were brutal. Every pitch looked like it had been designed in a lab. Coach Nunez paced the dugout, muttering, "We don't need 5 runs. We just need base runners. Pressure breaks people. Make 'em throw strikes." When Robert came up in the bottom of the eighth, 2 on, 1 out, the dugout quieted. The crowd rose, stomping bleachers. The stage, whether he liked it or not, belonged to him. The reliever stared in. Lefty, sidearm release. The ball seemed to appear from behind his hip, darting sideways. First pitch, sinker, low. Robert laid off. "Good take," Trevor shouted. Second pitch, slider sweeping. Robert swung, missed by a foot. He shook his head, reset. The pitcher smirked. Third pitch, sinker again, catching too much plate. Robert turned on it, driving it hard toward the right field line. The crowd gasped. The ball sliced foul by 2 feet. Robert backed out, heart pounding. He could feel the moment begging. Fourth pitch, slider outside. He spat on it. Count even, 2-2. The pitcher exhaled, set, delivered. Another sinker, inside corner. Robert jammed, fists tight, sending a bouncer between first and second. The first baseman dove, smothered, shoveled to the pitcher covering. "Out," the ump barked. Robert reached the bag a half step late. He bent, hands on knees, chest burning. The crowd groaned. Another chance gone. Arizona State closed it out, 5-2. Their players celebrated again, louder this time, as if reminding UCSB where the balance of power lived. Back in the clubhouse, the mood was heavy. Cleats clattered softer, voices were hushed. The box score pinned to the wall glared back. Robert, 1 for 4, 1 single, 1 near miss. Trevor, padding through in compression shorts, tossed him a Gatorade. "Don't sulk, Doe. You're seeing it fine. Sometimes the ball don't fall." Robert twisted the cap, drank deep. He knew Trevor was right, but part of him ached at the truth of being an average hitter in a lineup desperate for stars. Sunday arrived fast. Rubber game. The Gauchos filed out of the tunnel, eyes harder, chatter sharper. Students in the bleachers waved homemade signs. "Believe in the blue, and Cinderella starts here." The energy was louder, fuller, desperate to believe. Coach Nunez gathered them at the dugout rail. "We don't back down, not today. You don't get many shots at Giants. Make this one count." The Gauchos played like men possessed. Their starter, a sophomore lefty with a deceptive pickoff move, froze Sun Devil runners. The lineup strung together, singles, bunts, and hustle. By the 6th, UCSB led 3-1. The crowd was electric, stomping, chanting, drowning out Arizona State's dugout noise. Robert stepped in again with 2 on, 2 outs. The pitcher, another hard thrower, snapped off a slider. Robert waited, hands back, and lined it into left. Base hit. The runner scored, dugout erupted, and Robert pumped his fist on first base. He wasn't flashy, wasn't the hero on billboards, but he was part of it, stitching the game together one swing at a time. The Gauchos held on, winning 5-3. As the final out settled into Trevor's mitt, the bleachers shook. Fans stormed down to slap the railing. Teammates spilled out, mobbing the mound. Robert jogged in from left, chest heaving, eyes scanning the scene. For a mid-major, taking a series from Arizona State wasn't just a win. It was a statement. Back in the dugout, Coach Nunez's voice boomed. "That's Gaucho baseball. Nobody gives us respect, we take it." The team howled. Robert grinned, sweat streaking his face, and thought, this is the start of something. The dream wasn't Omaha yet, but for the first time, it felt possible. Chapter 4. Against the Giants. The stands looked different tonight. Bigger, louder, filled with a noise that rattled the chain-link backstop before the first pitch even left a pitcher's hand. UC Santa Barbara wasn't just playing another regional game. They were squaring up against a monster, one of those perennial SEC juggernauts that wore their history like a badge on their chest. Bright jerseys, custom cleats, a whole fan base that had flown across the country, as if Omaha was already waiting for them. Robert had seen plenty of ballparks in his 3 years, but this one felt more like an arena. The stadium lights didn't just illuminate, they interrogated. Every step onto the grass felt like being judged. Coach Checkett's voice cut through the dugout noise. "Hey, play loose. Don't give a damn about their name. They bleed like we do. We're here for one thing, keep the season alive." The Gauchos responded with a chorus of, "Yes, sir," some louder than others. Robert kept his answer quiet but firm. His hands rested on the knob of his bat, rolling it back and forth. He'd dreamed about this, being on a stage where the crowd roared for every pitch. But the dream was more complicated when you were the underdog staring across at a lineup stacked with future draft picks. When the leadoff hitter for the other team stepped in, the sound was deafening. Their fans didn't cheer, they thundered. The SEC squad shortstop, a projected first-rounder, took the first strike and smiled like he owned the place. Their dugout roared approval. Robert leaned over to the guy next to him. Matt, the freshman infielder who never stopped chewing sunflower seeds. Feels like we're in the wrong movie, huh? Matt spit a shell into his cup and grinned. Nah, feels like we're about to steal the whole script. Robert chuckled, though the weight in his chest didn't budge. By the third inning, it was already a fight. UCSB's starter had battled through jams, leaving runners stranded, but the SEC team was relentless. Every swing looked dangerous, every pitch foul-tipped at the last moment, like they were hunting the mistake they knew would come. Robert's first at-bat had been uneventful. A grounder to second, routine out. He hated routine outs. They stuck in your teeth. His second at-bat came in the fourth inning. Gauchos down 2-0. Runner on first, 1 out. The pitcher was a righty with a fastball that jumped at 96, paired with a slider that vanished like smoke. Robert stepped into the box, adjusted his helmet, and let his eyes dart around the infield. Third baseman was deep, double play depth in the middle. He knew his role. Make contact, move the runner, maybe sneak one through. "Let's go, doughboy," a voice shouted from the UCSB dugout. He ignored the nickname, focused on the pitcher. First pitch, fastball, outer edge, called strike. He stepped out, tightened his batting gloves, thought, okay, he's challenging early. He wants me to chase away. Don't give him that. Second pitch, slider low. He started to flinch. Held up. Ball 1. The crowd booed, as if the umpire had betrayed them. Robert's breath slowed. This is it. My kind of spot. Short swing, middle away. Don't try to be a hero. Next pitch, fastball, belt high. He turned quick, line drive to left center. The crack of the bat was sharp enough to cut through the noise. Runner took off. Ball landed just in front of the diving center fielder. Robert rounded first hard, thought about second, but held. Single. Runner hustled to third. The Gaucho dugout erupted. Claps, cheers, helmet slapping the fence. "Attaboy, Doe!" Robert stood on first, grinning for the first time all night. He wasn't the star, wasn't the cleanup hitter. But right now, he'd done what he came to do. Put UCSB on the board. The inning rolled, the pressure mounted, and UCSB scratched a run across, 2-1. Not a tie, not a lead, but a pulse. By the 7th, the game was a war. Both sides trading punches. Every foul ball felt like a fight for territory. The SEC fans thundered with every 2-strike count, their chants coordinated, almost cruel. But the Gaucho faithful, the ones who had driven hours and bought cheap hotel rooms just to be here, screamed just as loud, desperate to drown them out. Robert's third at bat, 8th inning, score tied 3-3. Runner on second, 2 outs. The kind of at-bat you remember forever. The pitcher had changed. Now it was a lefty with a curveball that bent like it came out of the sky. Robert took a breath, dug his cleats into the dirt. His hands shook just enough to feel it. First pitch, curve, strike. He didn't even flinch. Just watched it spin, tumble, lock him up. Second pitch, fastball up. He swung under it, late. Strike 2. The crowd exploded, sensing blood. Robert stepped out. He didn't hear anything but his own heartbeat. Thought, not letting him write me off like this. Shorten up, see it, hit it. Pitch 3, curveball, hung just enough. He jumped on it, hands quick, barrel out. The ball shot into right field, line drive single. Runner rounded third. Throw came in late. Gauchos up 4-3. The dugout lost its mind. Robert stood at first, chest heaving, adrenaline spilling everywhere. He didn't even hear the chants anymore. Just the sudden belief, palpable, heavy, that they could actually do this. The 9th inning came with terror attached, Gauchos clinging to a 1-run lead. Their closer, a wiry righty with nerves of steel, took the mound. First out, strike out. Second out, grounder to short. Final batter, a slugger who'd already doubled earlier. The crowd was on its feet, every voice united in a storm. Pitch 1, ball. Pitch 2, foul. Pitch 3, strike swinging. Robert leaned on the dugout rail, knuckles white. One more, just one more. Pitch 4, fastball high. Swung on, popped up, shallow left. Robert didn't even watch it come down. He heard the glove snap shut, and the roar that followed wasn't just noise. It was belief cracking wide open. Gauchos 4, Giants 3. David had beaten Goliath, if only for a night. Robert jogged onto the field with the team, fists pumping, helmet high in the air. This wasn't Omaha yet, wasn't even close. But for the first time, it felt possible. And that was enough to keep the dream burning. Chapter 5. The morning after. The campus didn't look the same the next day. It wasn't that the buildings had changed, or the palm trees swayed any different in the coastal wind. It was the way people looked at the team. Walking across the quad, Robert carried his backpack slung on one shoulder, baseball cap low, earbuds dangling with no music playing. He wanted to feel normal. He wanted to melt back into the background like he always had. But there was no melting anymore. A group of students at a table near the library started clapping when they saw him. "Hey, Doe! Big hit last night, man." Robert lifted a hand, forced a smile, kept walking. It wasn't that he didn't like it. Part of him loved it. Every player dreamed of being seen, of being remembered. But another part of him was uneasy. Recognition was heavier than anonymity. People expected more when they actually knew your name. The locker room was buzzing before practice. Guys who'd normally stretch quietly now replayed moments from the win like highlights on repeat. "Can you believe their closer hung me a slider like that?" Tyler grinned, tossing a ball into his glove. "That dude's probably first team all SEC and I just sent him to the warning track." "Yeah, and you almost got picked off before the pitch," Matt fired back, laughing. Coach Checketts walked in, clipboard under his arm, and the room hushed a little. Not silent, never silent, but the kind of respectful quiet that meant everyone wanted to hear what he'd say. "Proud of you boys last night. That was gutsy. But here's the truth. Nobody cares if it was one game. They'll say we got lucky, that we can't string it together. They'll say Goliath had an off night." He looked around the room, eyes landing on each player. "So here's the question. Do you want to be a headline, or do you want to be a story?" Robert sat up straighter, the words sinking in. A headline disappeared the next day. A story lasted. Be a story, he thought. Make it impossible to ignore us. Practice was crisp, sharper than usual. Every grounder, every relay throw, every cage session carried a new urgency. Robert found himself zoning in at the plate, working on opposite field drives, letting his swing stay short and compact. He'd tasted what it felt like to matter, and he wasn't about to let himself slide back into mediocrity. Still, the pressure pressed. He could hear it in the way guys talked. "You think scouts were watching that game?" someone asked. "Dude, they're always watching the SEC guys, but you bet your ass they noticed us now." Robert kept his head down, focusing on reps. Scouts, draft stock, bigger stages. It all buzzed in the background, but he didn't want to drown in it. Not yet. That evening, they had a team meal at a local spot. One of those restaurants that smelled like fried fish and garlic bread the second you walked in. The place was packed, the waitstaff wearing gauchos hats. When the team came through the door, the whole room clapped. "Feels like we won the whole damn thing already," Matt whispered, sliding into the booth next to Robert. "Yeah," Robert muttered, staring at his menu, though he wasn't reading it. "But we didn't." Matt grinned. "Doughboy, you're wound tight as hell. Loosen up. That knock you had last night, legendary. You're living in UCSB history, whether you like it or not." Robert let out a small laugh. Maybe Matt was right. Maybe it was okay to enjoy it for a second. When the food came, plates clattered, laughter filled the table, and for an hour it felt like life was perfect. A team of nobodies who just punched a giant in the mouth. But later that night, back in his dorm room, Robert lay awake staring at the ceiling. He could still hear the crack of the bat, feel the rush of standing on first base, adrenaline pulsing. He replayed the hit over and over, and then, like a cruel twist, his mind asked, what if that's the only one you ever get? The thought knotted his stomach. He rolled over, shoved his face into the pillow, tried to push it away. Tomorrow meant another game, another chance, another mountain. He wanted Omaha. Not just one highlight, not just one game. He wanted the biggest stage in college baseball. And he knew, deep down, that nobody was going to hand it to him. Chapter 6. Survive and Advance. The bus ride over was quiet. Not silent. Baseball teams never went fully silent, but quieter than usual. The jokes were softer, the music lower. Guys scrolled their phones, headphones in, faces half lit by the screen glow. Robert sat near the middle, forehead against the glass, watching the city roll past. Somewhere out there, fans were already streaming into the stadium. Somewhere, cameras were being set up, commentators rehearsing names. They'd talk about the other team first. They always did. UCSB was still the guest, the curiosity, not yet the story. The stadium was bigger than the last one. Tiered seats stacked high, lights blazing down, press boxes full of lenses and voices. The opponent wore red and gold, a program with 3 national titles on their resume. Their fans filled 2/3 of the stands, already chanting before warm-up started. Robert jogged out to stretch, feeling the weight of eyes on him. He'd gotten a taste of recognition after the last game, but now it felt sharper, less forgiving. One hit could make you a hero. One strikeout could turn you invisible again. Coach Checketts gathered them in foul territory. Same deal, boys. They've got pedigree, we've got hunger. Play loose. Don't let their names scare you. Baseball doesn't care about history. It cares about today. They broke, jogged into the dugout, gloves popping. From the first pitch, it was clear the opponent wasn't taking them lightly. Their starter, a lefty with a smooth, almost lazy delivery, painted the corners with precision. The first inning ended in 3 quick outs. Robert didn't come up until the second. He dug in, crowd roaring, pitchers staring him down like prey. First pitch, fastball outside edge, called strike. Robert stepped out, tapped his bat. All right, he's living away. Don't chase unless he leaks one. Second pitch, curveball snapped in. Ball 1. Third pitch, changeup low. Robert swung, just under it, foul tip. The dugout barked. Good cut. Stay on it, Doe. Robert adjusted, exhaled. He's messing with speeds. Gotta trust the hands. Fourth pitch, fastball up. He turned quick, sent a liner down the right field line. Hooking, fair by inches. He sprinted out of the box, rounded first, dug for second. The throw came in late. Double. The Gaucho dugout exploded. Helmet slammed the fence, guys screaming his name. Robert stood on second, chest heaving, looking at the scoreboard lights. He wasn't invisible anymore. The next hitter moved him to third with a grounder. Then a sacrifice fly brought him home. 1-0 UCSB. The crowd silenced, just for a beat. Enough for Robert to feel the magic of it, the hush that came when the underdog actually struck first. But games like this never stayed quiet. By the 4th inning, the opponent punched back. 2-run homer, loud and towering, into the night. Their fans thundered. 2-1. Robert sat in the dugout, jaw tight. That's what Giants do. They swing and make the park feel small. Coach paced, voice steady. Stay calm. We'll get ours. Just keep grinding. Grinding was the only word for it. UCSB scratched and clawed for base runners, drew walks, fouled off pitches. Robert's second at bat, 6th inning, still down 2-1. Runner on first, 2 outs. He stepped in, sweat dripping under his helmet. First pitch, curve, just outside. Ball. Second pitch. Fastball middle in. He jumped on it, ripped a hard grounder through the hole at short. Single. Runner to third. The Gaucho dugout roared again. "Attaboy, Doe!" The next batter lined a single up the middle. Both runners scored. UCSB 3-2. Robert clapped his hands on second base, grin wide, adrenaline surging. The game tilted again. The underdogs were back in front. But nothing came easy. Eighth inning, 3-3 tie, tension choking the air. Every pitch felt like a coin toss between glory and disaster. Robert's third at-bat, lead off in the ninth, tie game. Their closer was on the mound now, a flamethrower who'd touched 98 without breaking a sweat. Robert dug in. First pitch, fastball, outer half, called strike. He stepped out, adjusted. Can't be late. Get it started early. Second pitch, slider, diving out. He didn't bite. Ball one. Third pitch, fastball up. He fouled it straight back, the clang ringing in his ears. The crowd was insane, stomping, screaming. Robert stared in, narrowed his world. Just pitcher, ball, swing. Fourth pitch, fastball, center cut. He didn't miss. The crack echoed like fireworks. The ball soared to left center, tailing away from the outfielders. Robert sprinted, rounded first, dug for second. The crowd gasped, then groaned as the ball hit the wall on a bounce. Stand-up double. He stood on second, fists pumping. Gaucho fans screaming themselves hoarse. The next batter bunted him to third. Then, on a 2-1 pitch, Tyler ripped a single through the right side. Robert jogged home, pounding the plate with both hands. UCSB 4-3. 3 outs away. The bottom of the ninth was chaos. Their closer came in, throwing darts, but the first hitter blooped a single. Then a sacrifice bunt moved him over. Runner on second, 1 out. Robert leaned on the dugout rail, hands trembling. He'd never felt a game so fragile. Pitch after pitch, foul balls, chants, every voice in the stadium colliding. Then, line drive to center, caught. Runner held, 2 outs. Final batter. Fastball inside, jammed him. Grounder to second, flip to first. Ball game, UCSB 4, Giants 3. The Gauchos dogpiled near the mound, helmets flying, gloves tossed. Robert found himself crushed in the middle of it, teammates pounding his back, screaming in his ear. They'd done it again, survived, advanced, proved they weren't just a fluke. As the team celebrated, Robert tilted his head back to the lights, sweat dripping, lungs burning. For a moment, all he could think was, Omaha doesn't feel so far away anymore. Chapter 7. The Quiet Between Storms. The garage had never been so clean, not in years, maybe not ever. Stacks of metal scraps were organized into neat bins. The concrete floor, usually dusted with grime, had been swept until the faint cracks in it were visible again. The workbenches, cluttered only yesterday with tools and abandoned sketches, now held just a couple of carefully rolled blueprints weighted by wrenches. It looked less like a place where mistakes were made, and more like somewhere a revolution could be planned. Milo leaned against the wall, arms crossed, trying not to smile as he watched Danny pace. She kept pulling her hair into a knot, only to let it fall again, as if even her thoughts were too restless to hold in place. "You know," Milo said, finally breaking the silence, "this is the first time I've seen the floor in, like, a decade." "Don't ruin it," Danny shot back, not looking up from the plans. "We're supposed to be serious now." "Oh, right, deadly serious. The fate of the city, yada yada." He made a mock salute, which earned him a quick glare before she bent back down. Ray sat on the hood of an old, half-disassembled car, feet swinging idly. Her quiet presence was different tonight, less withdrawn, more tuned in. She tapped a rhythm against the metal with her boot, the sound sharp and steady. "Storm's coming," she said softly. Milo raised an eyebrow. "Weather report or metaphor?" "Both." Danny finally stopped pacing and spread the blueprints wide. Then we don't waste time. We know what Ferris wants. He wants the prototype, and he'll burn everything else to get it. So we finish it first. We make it ours before he can. Silence. Heavy, but not hopeless. Ray tilted her head, studying the lines drawn on the paper. You're saying we beat him at his own game? No, Danny's voice sharpened. I'm saying we build something he can't control. Something that doesn't belong to him, or the city, or anyone who thinks they own us. Milo whistled low. That's a tall order. You got a miracle in your back pocket, boss? Danny didn't answer right away. She just pressed her palm flat against the page, fingers splayed like she could pin the idea down before it slipped away. Not a miracle, just us, and that's enough. For the first time that night, Ray smiled. Small, quiet, but real. The storm outside hadn't started yet, but the garage felt like the eye of one. Calm, waiting, heavy with promise. Chapter 8. Sparks in the Dark. The storm hit just after midnight. Rain slammed against the corrugated roof of the garage, drumming loud enough to make conversation stumble. The air tasted metallic, damp with ozone, as if the whole city was charged and waiting to snap. Shadows trembled on the walls every time lightning forked outside the wide, cracked windows. Milo sat on the floor cross-legged, soldering iron in hand, hunched over a circuit board. The glow from the tool threw his face into strange, angular relief, sweat sliding down his temple, even though the air was cool. Careful with that, Danny said, leaning over his shoulder. One wrong connection, and it's fried. You always know how to boost my confidence. Milo didn't look up, jaw tight as he lowered the iron. Don't worry, I've done this dance before. The smell of melting plastic lifted into the air, sharp and acrid. He pulled back, squinting at the thin silver lines that had come together, delicate as veins. Looks alive, Ray murmured from across the room. She was perched on the edge of the workbench, one knee pulled up to her chest, eyes reflecting the faint blue light of the board. Danny glanced at her. Alive's the idea. Ray gave a slow nod, gaze distant, as if she were listening to something beyond the rain. Another lightning flash lit the room, throwing their silhouettes huge and jagged across the walls. For a second, it looked like there were more people in the garage than the three of them, long shadows moving, stretching, colliding. Milo cursed under his breath. Almost. He leaned back, flexing his stiff fingers. It's like the board doesn't want to hold. Every time I think I've got it, something pushes back. Danny frowned. Pushes back how? Like it's resisting. Don't ask me to explain. Just feels wrong. The rain hammered harder, a sudden gust rattling the garage doors. The lights flickered once, then steadied. Ray's voice cut in, soft but steady. That's not just weather. Both Danny and Milo looked at her, waiting for more. She didn't elaborate, just slid off the bench and pressed her palm against the nearest window. Raindrops streaked down the glass, blurred city lights beyond. Ferris knows, she whispered. He's moving. The soldering iron clattered as Milo set it down. Already? We're not even halfway. Doesn't matter, Danny interrupted, eyes narrowing. We keep going. If he's close, it means he's scared. And if he's scared, we're onto something. A low rumble shook the building. Not thunder this time. Engines, heavy and deliberate, rolling closer through wet streets. The three of them froze. Then, almost in unison, they moved. Danny snapping the blueprint shut, Milo gathering the unfinished board, Ray pulling the garage's hanging chain to kill the overhead light. The storm swallowed the room in darkness. Only the faint blue glow of the half-built device remained, pulsing weakly like a heartbeat. Chapter 9. The Knock at the Door. The sound came sharp, deliberate, not the careless pounding of rain, not the distant churn of engines. It was knuckles against steel. 3 measured knocks, too calm for the chaos outside. Milo's throat went dry. He set the board down carefully, like it might explode if he moved too fast. "Stay down," Danny whispered, crouching low. Her hand hovered near the crowbar, leaning against the wall, her shoulders wound tight. Ray didn't flinch. She was by the window again, her outline faint in the flash of lightning. "One," she murmured. "Not a squad." "How the hell can you tell?" Milo asked, voice cracking low. "Listen," Ray said, closing her eyes. "The engines aren't idling anymore. Parked half a block off. Whoever this is, they're on foot, alone." The knock came again, slower this time, echoing in the hollow ribs of the garage. Danny and Milo exchanged a look. Words weren't needed, half fear, half question. Danny tilted her head. "Do we answer?" Milo mouthed back, "Suicide." The third knock rattled through them, followed by a voice, steady, deep, cutting through the storm like it had been rehearsed. "Robert Doe." Milo's gut lurched. His name wasn't Robert Doe, but the name hung there anyway, heavy and precise. A code, a signal. Danny blinked, barely concealing surprise. "That's baseball," Ray finished for her, stepping away from the window. Her tone was certain. "It's for him." Milo frowned. "For who?" "The one who still dreams about lights and fields," Ray said, looking right at him. The storm growled outside, shaking the building, pressing them to move. The voice came again, more insistent. "Robert Doe, open up." Danny's grip tightened on the crowbar. "It could be a trap." "Or a test," Ray countered. Milo felt his pulse in his temples, the storm crawling into his chest. He wanted to hide in the corner, to wait it out, but something about the rhythm of the knock, the strange choice of words, gnawed at him. "I'll go," he said finally, voice low. Danny spun on him. "Are you out of your—" "If it's nothing, I'll slam it shut," Milo cut in, trying to keep his voice steady. "But if it's not?" He glanced at the faint glow of the device still pulsing on the floor. "We can't afford not to know." Ray stepped closer, her gaze calm and unblinking. "Then you won't open it alone." Danny cursed under her breath, shoved the crowbar into Milo's hands, and positioned herself to the side of the door. "Fine, but you crack it slow. Anything moves wrong, we end it fast." Milo's palms were slick against the cold steel. He lifted the latch, heart hammering against the storm's rhythm. The garage door groaned as he pulled it open just an inch. A streak of lightning cut across the sky, and for the briefest moment, a figure stood outside, rain dripping from the brim of his cap, eyes shadowed, posture unshaken. He leaned forward, and through the narrow slit of the door, his voice came low and deliberate. "You want Omaha?" Milo's breath caught. The door hung there, cracked open, the storm pushing to get in. Chapter 10. The Visitor. The storm hadn't let up. Rain pelted the garage roof in relentless sheets, hammering against every metal edge, every cracked window pane. It was the kind of rain that made every sound echo, made shadows dance with a mind of their own. Milo's hand lingered on the latch. Muscles tensed, so hard it felt like he might snap the door off its hinges. Danny crouched to the side, crowbar ready, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the small opening. Ray's gaze was fixed on the figure outside, calm and unwavering, like she could see through the rain to the man's intentions. "You want Omaha?" the man repeated, voice low, deliberate, carried across the storm as if it were a challenge. Robert Doe swallowed hard. Something about the tone, the certainty, the sheer audacity of the line made his stomach knot. He glanced back at Danny and Ray, who gave him small nods of affirmation. "Trust your gut, Doe," Ray seemed to say with her eyes. Who are you?" Robert asked, keeping his voice steady despite the tremor he felt in his chest. The figure tilted his head slightly, enough for the rain to flick across his face, revealing a thin, determined jawline and eyes that burned with quiet intensity. "Call me Harper," he said. "I've been watching you. The way you play, the way you carry yourself on the field. You're not like the others. You've got grit." Robert blinked, his hand gripping the door as if letting go would make the world collapse. "Watching? You mean like scouts?" Harper shook his head. "No, scouts look for numbers, for stats. I look for heart. And you've got enough to make a small school legendary." Danny scoffed, but her stance didn't relax. "Legendary? We're barely keeping up with normal competition." Harper smiled faintly, a twist of amusement and something sharper underneath. "That's why you're interesting. You've just beaten giants, and you didn't choke. Most would have folded under the lights, under the pressure, but not you, not UCSB, and not you, Robert Doe." Robert's mind raced. He thought back to the last 2 games. Every fastball, every crack of the bat, every cheer and roar. Could someone really have been watching him, noticing the way he kept his head down, focused, trusting his swing, trusting his team? It was flattering and terrifying. "Why are you here?" he asked, voice quieter this time. "To make sure you don't lose it," Harper said, stepping closer, rain beating on his coat. "I know Ferris is circling. I know what he's capable of. And I know that if you falter now, you'll never get this shot again." Robert's chest tightened. "Ferris, he's already after us. Why would you care?" Harper's eyes darkened slightly. "Because someone has to. Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted in the shadows. You want Omaha, kid. You'll need to fight for it. And that means knowing the enemy before he moves." Danny finally broke the tension, stepping forward so her crowbar rested lightly on the doorframe. "Hold on. What kind of fight are we talking about here? This isn't baseball, this is..." "Everything," Harper interrupted. "Baseball isn't just a game. Not at this level. Every swing, every pitch, every choice. It's a battlefield. And some battles happen before you even step on the field." Robert's mind whirled. He thought of the storm outside, the glowing device still pulsing faintly inside the garage, the 2 closest friends he'd trusted with everything, and now a stranger with a presence that made the air seem heavier. He swallowed. "And you're here to help?" Harper's smile returned, thin and sharp. "I'm here to make sure you survive, to make sure UCSB survives, and to make sure you get your shot on the biggest stage in college baseball. But first, you need to learn to anticipate, to read the game before it starts." Ray finally stepped forward. "And what exactly does that mean?" "It means," Harper said, lowering his voice so it carried over the storm, yet somehow seemed to draw them closer, "that winning games isn't just about hitting or pitching. It's about knowing your opponent's mind, their rhythm, their habits. You think a pitcher throws the same fastball twice? Never. You think a closer always looks the same when the pressure's real? Never. You want Omaha? You need to see it all, feel it all, before anyone else does." Robert felt a thrill run through him. He'd always loved the game, every crack of the bat, every pitch, every inch of grass. But this was a different level. Strategy and instincts and danger layered on top of pure skill. He nodded slowly. "All right, I want it. I want to see it. I want Omaha." Harper's eyes softened for the briefest moment. "Good. That's the first thing you need." The rain eased slightly, a quiet whisper through the garage's cracks. The 3 of them, Robert, Danny, Ray, stood frozen, processing the gravity of the moment. Harper took a step back, nodding once, decisively. "You've got until sunrise," he said. "Tomorrow, everything changes. Be ready." Then he turned, disappearing into the rain so completely that for a heartbeat, Robert thought he had been imagining the whole thing. Milo, who had been holding his breath, finally exhaled. Well, that just happened. Danny shook her head, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. I don't know what just happened, but that storm can't compare to the one coming for us. Ray's eyes remained on the door, expression unreadable. No, it can't, and I don't think we're ready yet. Robert swallowed, feeling a surge of both fear and excitement. I'm not invisible anymore. I'm not just a hitter. I'm standing on the edge, staring at everything I've dreamed about, and someone just told me how to take it. He looked around at his friends, the glowing device, the storm-battered garage, and felt it. The weight, the possibility, the pulse of destiny waiting to be claimed. And in the quiet between the echoes of thunder, he made a decision. I'm going to Omaha, no matter what. Chapter 11. The Eye of the Game. The morning light didn't feel like morning. Not really. It was pale, weak, filtered through clouds that hadn't quite shaken the storm yet. The streets were slick, the air smelling of wet asphalt and salt from the ocean. Every step toward the stadium felt heavier, more charged, like walking into the eye of something bigger than themselves. Robert kept his cap low, hoodie drawn, earbuds in even though no music played. His hands were in his pockets, tight around the straps of his backpack, his mind already back on Harper's words. You want Omaha? You need to see it all, feel it all, before anyone else does. He had thought about them all night, the pitcher, the closer, the fielders, every team UCSB had faced, and the Giants still waiting. Every swing, every pitch, every move. Harper hadn't given him a plan, not really. Just a rule: anticipate, feel, read the game. But how do you teach instinct? He wondered, walking through the stadium gates with Danny and Ray. The stands were already filling, students waving banners, alumni with binoculars and folding chairs, local reporters buzzing like flies around a fresh wound. Cameras followed every player's stride from the bus to the dugout. They were no longer invisible. Every move, every glance, every grunt would be noted, tweeted, filmed. Robert's stomach knotted. Not from nerves, but awareness. This was bigger. Much bigger. Coach Checketts met them at the dugout, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning the field as if it held the answers already. Everyone's seen you beat Giants. Everyone's seen the upset, but today, it's a different beast. Same rules, same field, same stakes, higher pressure. I want focus. I want strategy. And I want heart. You've got the skill. Now show me the mind. Robert nodded. His jaw tightened. Heart and mind. Harper had said the same thing, in a different way. Read the opponent. Anticipate. Control the game before it starts. He slid his glove over his hand, feeling the leather, the stitching, the weight he knew by memory. Bat resting on his shoulder, grip tight but relaxed. Every routine motion suddenly carried gravity. First pitch came fast, a blur of white streaking toward him. He tracked it like a hawk, noting the release, the spin, the slight hitch in the pitcher's stride. He let it pass. Ball one. See the rhythm, predict it. Second pitch, curve low and outside. Foul tip, barely grazing the barrel. Crowd noise blurred into a low roar, then faded as his focus tightened. Third pitch, fastball middle in. He swung, connecting solid, sending the ball screaming into the right field gap. Runner on first moved to third, crowd erupting in cheers. Dugout shouting his name. Heart hammering in his chest, Robert felt the pulse of the game, the pulse of every player around him. Harper's lesson clicked. It wasn't just seeing the pitch. It was feeling the rhythm, sensing the tension, knowing the field before anyone else. Coach Checketts clapped from the dugout rail. Good eye, Doe. Keep it going. Robert nodded, sliding into first and digging for the bag. He glanced at the pitcher, who was wiping his brow, shaking his head slightly, resetting. Resetting for the next one. Anticipate it. At second at bat, things escalated. The opponent's closer. A flamethrower whose fastball left the hand like a bullet was brought in. Robert could feel the dugout holding its breath. Every pitch mattered. Every swing could change the outcome. First pitch, a high fastball. Foul, straight back. Crowd noise surged, but he filtered it out. Focus on the spin, the release, the stride. Second pitch, slider diving inside. He jammed himself, barely avoiding the tip of the bat. Ball 1. Third pitch, fastball middle low. He swung, connecting with the center of the barrel. The crack reverberated, ball flying toward left center. Runner from second tagged and scored. UCSB took the lead. Dugout exploded. Robert dug for second, pumping fists, heart pounding. He felt alive in a way he never had before. Every step, every heartbeat matched the rhythm Harper had described. Anticipation, precision, instinct. The crowd's noise, once overwhelming, now seemed to push him, not distract him. By the fifth inning, UCSB held a narrow lead. The stadium was electric, fans on the edge of their seats, chants weaving in the rain-soaked air. Robert's third at-bat approached, the stakes higher, the tension thick enough to choke on. He stepped up to the plate, eyes locking on the pitcher. He remembered Harper's words, coach's advice, the countless hours of practice and strategy, and the crackle of last night's storm. Everything converged. First pitch, fastball low and inside, foul toward the dugout. Second pitch, curve, outside, ball. Third pitch, slider, biting toward the corner. He let it pass. Ball 2. Fourth pitch, fastball middle in. He swung with precision, letting instinct guide him. The ball left the bat like a cannon shot, sailing past shortstop and into the outfield gap. Runner on second rounded third, heading home. The scoreboard changed. UCSB extended the lead. Danny and Ray screamed from the dugout, crowd joining in, but Robert barely heard them. He felt the pulse of the field, the rhythm of the game, the electricity of anticipation flowing from Harper's cryptic lessons into his own instincts. The ninth inning came, and the opponent's closer had sharpened, throwing smoke-hot fastballs and twisting sliders, trying to claw back. Robert stood in the batter's box one last time, led off. Tied game, crowd screaming. Rain falling in sheets now, mixing with sweat and adrenaline. He scanned the pitcher, scanned the field, every heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of the game. Fastball, curve, changeup. They were all there, and he knew it before they left the mound. Crack. The ball rocketed to right center. Run scored. The stadium erupted. The underdogs had done it again. UCSB had survived, thrived, and proved, once more, they belonged. Robert's chest heaved, eyes scanning the stands, the field, his teammates' elated faces. The lesson was clear. Baseball was more than swings and stats. It was rhythm, instinct, heart, and mind. And now, more than ever, he felt ready to chase Omaha. Chapter 12. One game from history. The stadium lights cut through the early evening like searchlights, illuminating every blade of grass, every worn patch of dirt on the infield. It was the regional final. Everything led here. Every swing, every stolen base, every late-night practice had funneled into this moment. Robert Doe stood in the dugout, helmet in hand, breathing in the electric mix of popcorn, wet grass, and anticipation. The stands were packed, the crowd roaring with a mix of UCSB students, alumni, and neutral fans drawn to the story of the underdogs who had already toppled two powerhouse programs. Cameras flashed, commentators murmured names, and the smell of tension pressed down like a weight. He wasn't nervous, at least not in the traditional sense. No, this was something else. A tight coil of focus, excitement, and disbelief. We're actually here. Regional final. One game from Omaha. Coach Checketts clapped his hands, rallying the team. Eyes sharp, Think, anticipate, play like we've practiced. This isn't luck, it's preparation. We know what we're doing. Trust yourselves. Robert lifted his bat, running fingers over the worn handle. Harper's words echoed in his mind. See it all. Feel it all. Anticipate. He took a deep breath, blocking out everything except the pitcher on the mound, the ball in his hand, and the rhythm of the game. First inning started tense. The opposing team's pitcher, a right-handed ace, threw heat like a machine gun, fastballs and sliders whistling past batters. UCSB's leadoff hitter fouled off 3 straight pitches before drawing a walk. Robert felt the subtle vibration of the dugout, the rhythm of the crowd, the pressure mounting. He dug in mentally, watching the pitcher's motion, noting the small tells, the flick of the wrist, the tension in the elbow, the slight tilt of his shoulders. Second at bat, third inning. Robert stepped up with a runner on second. He swung at the first pitch, fastball high just over the plate, and sent it screaming toward left center. The outfielder lunged, fingertips grazing it, but it bounced off the wall. Robert rounded first, pumping fists as the runner scored. 1-0 UCSB. Dugout erupted, helmets banging, voices shouting. That's it. That's the rhythm. Keep it alive. But the opponent wasn't finished. Bottom of the fourth, they came back hard. Line drive, home run, and the stadium went quiet. The wind knocked out of UCSB's momentum. Robert clenched his bat, feeling the tension thrum in his veins. Harper's words came again. Anticipate. Read the rhythm. Don't react. Predict. He sat back mentally, recalling every pitch sequence from prior games, every tendency of the pitcher. Fastball, slider, curve. Notice the grip, the stride, the windup. Read it before it's thrown. Fifth inning, he got his chance again. Full count, tie game, runner on third. First pitch, curveball, low, biting. He let it go. Ball 1. Second pitch, fastball inside, screaming. He twisted slightly. Foul tip. Ball 2. Third pitch. Slider diving, perfect. He waited. Waited. Swung with precision. Crack. Ball shot past second base, gap in center. Runner scored. UCSB back on top, 2-1. The crowd roared, chants bouncing off the stadium walls. Robert felt alive, more than ever, as if every fiber in him was humming with the game's pulse. Dugout erupted, coach's voice booming over the noise. That's how we do it, boys. But the game was far from over. Seventh inning brought their toughest test. Pitcher switched to closer mode. Velocity cranked, slider sharper, strategy unpredictable. UCSB struggled to get runners on. Robert dug deep, remembering Harper's lessons. It's not just the swing, it's the mind, the field, the anticipation. Watch, wait, and exploit mistakes. Eighth inning, UCSB up 3-0. 2. Tension thick enough to taste. Bases loaded. 2 outs. Robert stepped up. Every eye on him. Every heartbeat syncing with his own. He blocked out the crowd. Blocked out the lights. Blocked out everything except the pitcher. First pitch. Fastball, just off the inside corner. Ball, second, slider, outside, barely missing the plate. Ball 2, third, changeup low, foul tip. He clenched teeth. Fourth, fastball, center. He swung, connecting perfectly. Line drive to right center. 2 runs scored. UCSB 5-2. Dugout erupted in chaos, teammates screaming, helmets clanging, voices hoarse from yelling. Robert stood on second base, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his back, exhilaration coursing through him. He could feel the rhythm Harper had spoken of, the flow of the game, the tension of the pitcher, the potential of every swing, every play. Bottom of the ninth, UCSB leading 5-3. They brought in their ace reliever, a flamethrower with a reputation for shutting down comebacks. Robert watched every pitch from the dugout, calculating angles, seeing tendencies, mentally coaching each at-bat. Harper's lessons weren't abstract anymore. They were real, tangible, a weapon in his mind. Pitch after pitch, UCSB's defense held. Line drive snagged, bunts defended, throws perfect. The closer grew frustrated, shaking his head, muscles tightening. And then it happened. A grounder to second, flip to first. Game over. UCSB had done it. The crowd erupted. Players dove onto the field in celebration. Helmets flying, rain-soaked and ecstatic. Robert found himself caught in the middle of the chaos, heart pounding, adrenaline so high he could barely hear anything except the thrum of triumph. Coach Checketts grabbed him, slapping his shoulder. "You did it, Doe! You did it all!" Robert glanced around at his teammates, at Danny and Ray cheering, at the glowing lights of the stadium reflecting off the wet field, and felt it. The culmination of every game, every practice, every swing, every second spent dreaming of this. Omaha wasn't a dream anymore. It was real. He swallowed hard, looking up at the scoreboard, seeing UCSB's name in bright, triumphant letters. We're here, we belong, and we're going to show the world. Chapter 13. Omaha Dreams. The stadium lights of Omaha cut through the night like spotlights on destiny. The stands were a sea of color, banners waving, cameras flashing, announcers shouting over the roar of tens of thousands. Robert Doe stepped onto the field, heart hammering, bat in hand, helmet snug, and felt a thrill unlike anything before. This was it, the biggest stage in college baseball. From the dugout, UCSB's coach clapped and barked last-minute instructions. "Focus! Eyes sharp! Play like we've rehearsed every day for this!" Robert nodded, but it felt surreal. He'd imagined this moment countless nights, replaying swings in his mind, running drills in the garage, listening to Harper's cryptic guidance. But nothing could have prepared him for the energy here. The heat of the lights, the distant thunder of the crowd, the smell of grass, dirt, and adrenaline mixed with the scent of rain from earlier that day. First inning, UCSB at bat. The pitcher, an ace from a traditional powerhouse, strode to the mound, exuding confidence. His warm-up fastballs sliced through the air like missiles. The crowd hushed and gasped at every pitch. Robert adjusted his stance, digging into the dirt, focusing on the rhythm, the minute tells, wrist flick, stride length, subtle shoulder tilt, anticipate, read it, feel it. First pitch, fastball high. Robert let it pass, ball one. Second pitch, slider inside. He twisted slightly, foul tip, ball two. Third pitch, changeup, low. He didn't swing, letting it go. Strike one. Robert's mind raced. Every pitch, every glance from the pitcher, every twitch of the catcher's glove fed him information. He was alive in a way he had never been, seeing the game unfold before it happened, anticipating the trajectory, feeling the rhythm. Harper's words came back. Win the mental game first, then the physical. Fourth pitch, fastball, middle in, crack. The ball flew off the bat like a cannon shot, screaming towards center field. The runner on first rounded third, heading home. Dugout erupted, UCSB taking an early lead. Robert's chest heaved as adrenaline surged through every vein. The opposing team wasn't done. Bottom of the second inning, they hit back hard. A double, then a line drive that zipped past shortstop for another score. The crowd's roar shifted, tension slicing through the stadium air. Robert chewed the inside of his cheek, forcing his mind back to Harper's lessons. This wasn't just swinging. This was anticipation, positioning, instinct. By the fourth inning, UCSB was in a tight back and forth with the Giants. Every at-bat became a mental chess match. Robert's eyes scanned the field constantly, noting the pitcher's grip, the catcher's signals, the fielder's positioning. Every movement, every slight hesitation or twitch became data. Seventh inning, tied game, 2 outs, runner on second. Robert stepped into the batter's box. The stadium held its breath. First pitch, fastball, low inside, foul tip. Second pitch, curveball, outside, ball one. Third pitch, slider biting inside, strike one. Fourth pitch, fastball, center. He swung, connecting perfectly. The crack of the bat echoed like a gunshot. The ball soared over shortstop, bouncing into the outfield gap. Runner scored. UCSB led 5-4. Robert rounded first base, adrenaline pumping, heart hammering. He felt invincible. Every game, every practice, every storm in the garage had led to this moment. His swing, his vision, his anticipation, they all aligned perfectly. Bottom of the ninth, UCSB ahead by 1. Opponent's closer was brought in. A fiery lefty with a reputation for shutting down comebacks. The dugout tensed, teammates holding their breath as the game approached its climax. Pitch after pitch, grounders, line drives, pop-ups. UCSB's defense held strong, each throw precise, each catch perfect. The tension was palpable, thick enough to choke on. Every heartbeat matched the rhythm of the game, a symphony of focus, strategy, and instinct. Then, the final batter. Runner on third, 2 outs, full count. The crowd screamed, voices blending into one massive, chaotic roar. Robert watched from the dugout, jaw tight, eyes blazing. This was it. One pitch, one swing. One play could decide everything. The pitcher wound up, releasing the ball in a blur. It was a fastball, perfectly timed, aimed for the outside corner. Robert's instincts screamed. He had seen this before. In Harper's teachings, in endless practice, in countless simulations in his mind. He called the pitch, adjusted his stance, swung with every ounce of skill, every fiber of anticipation he had cultivated over years. Crack! The ball soared high, center field, carrying the weight of dreams, sweat, and every underdog moment UCSB had ever endured. The crowd erupted, deafening. As the runner scored, the ball cleared the outfield, and UCSB clinched the national championship. Robert dropped his bat, fists pumping. Tears streaked his rain-slicked face. His teammates swarmed him, voices hoarse, laughter and shouting blending into a glorious, chaotic symphony. Coach Checketts grabbed him, slapping shoulders, yelling over the din, "You did it! All of you! This is history!" Robert looked around at his teammates, at Danny and Ray cheering, at the gleaming lights of the Omaha Stadium reflecting off the wet grass. Every practice, every stormy night in the garage, every doubt had led to this. He had dreamed of this moment, and now he had lived it. He raised his arms, letting the noise wash over him, feeling the pulse of the crowd, the rhythm of the field, the heartbeat of a team that had refused to be invisible. Harper's lessons, the countless hours of preparation, the instinct, the anticipation, they all culminated in this moment of a triumph. Omaha was real. The dream had been chased, earned, and finally claimed. Robert Doe, once an overlooked junior, had stepped onto the biggest stage in college baseball and left a mark that would never be forgotten. And in the storm of cheers, the glow of lights, and the smell of rain and grass, he knew that this was just the beginning.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay safe.